Hi, my name is Anissa Grayson, and my focus is on the introduction. I introduced everyone's topic, what they will be talking about, some questions that was addressed throughout our topic, and also I focus on the background and some aspects on formula. So to begin with the background, one of the best things that you can do is breastfeed your child. The reason why I say this is because there is something called oxytocin, which helps you and your child bond during the breastfeeding time, something that can become a memory but also help you and your child through the long run. Another thing is your breast milk helps your child in the long run. The reason why I say this is because your breast milk provides proteins, vitamins, carbohydrates, fats, everything that a child needs in order to grow and be healthy versus formula that doesn't provide these certain things. But later on we will talk about that. Another thing that I focused on was the history. Back in time during slavery, there were women who were forced to basically breastfeed offspring that were white kids. They weren't their children, but they were forced because of their master. These women were considered wet nurses. Wet nurses was someone who was either forced or purchased to either breastfeed this child versus breastfeeding their own child. So some of the things that had came about was during this time, slave women had killed their slave infants because they couldn't provide the proper nutrition that their child needed in order to survive because they were limited due to their master's request. Another thing was during this time, women didn't have a say on how much milk they can provide to their child. Children had to fight. That's when a big decrease happened with the children popularity because women felt like the best thing to do was to kill their children so they wouldn't have to go through slavery, be forced not to eat, not be able to provide the food that they know their child needed in order to grow. So enough about this. I'll also focus on the impact on formula. Formula came about in the 1800s by this man named Judas Liebig. He was a chemist who researched on breast milk and tried to basically formulate formula into a form of breast milk, but that never went about because something a child can never do is digest or break down the formula as fast as it could as for its mother breast milk. So formula had became popular in the 1900s, and that's when a decrease in breastfeeding has started and more of an increase in formula has started. And his main goal was for that to happen. And it has happened, which needs to be changed in the African American community because research has showed that there's a large decrease in African American children's health, far as they're starting to have more asthmatic problems, diabetes problems, and all this can be prevented if you breastfeed your child. So, with that being said, that's mainly what I focus on, and I hope you enjoyed.
Hi, my name is Agnes Mirgadichian, and my portion of the paper will be on solutions for Black mothers who are choosing to breastfeed. I talk a little bit about how social media has a big effect on spreading awareness and helping mothers who are choosing to breastfeed to make their lives a little bit easier. I talk about the different blogs and Facebook pages that are solely dedicated to spreading awareness and programs that they offer to help Black mothers who choose to breastfeed. One of the programs that I talk about is the Uzazi Village. They offer classes for Black mothers or anybody who wants to be a doula or a midwife. They also throw baby showers for the community who are less fortunate. I also talk about Black infant health and their programs like Welcome Baby. They help by having classes and home visits and hospital visits. So my portion of the paper is a little bit about solutions and programs and blogs and people who just want to help Black mothers and their community. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa, and I'm here to talk about the pros of breastfeeding for African American women. American mothers as a whole do not breastfeed their babies as much as health experts would like, but African American moms have the lowest rates of all. Overall, breastfeeding has significant short and long-term benefits for both the mother and child. Studies have demonstrated a number of important health benefits to breastfeeding. For example, Children who are breastfed are more resistant to disease and infection early in life as compared to formula-fed children. Breastfed children are less likely to contract a number of diseases later in life, including juvenile diabetes, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, and cancer before the age of 15. Mothers who breastfeed are less likely to develop osteoporosis later in life, are able to lose weight gained during pregnancy more easily, and have a lower risk of breast, uterine, and ovarian cancer. Breastfeeding also has economic advantages. It's cheaper than buying formula, and it helps avoid medical bills later because it equips the baby to fight off diseases and infection. It's important that more African American women are taught about the advantages and shown more positive images of breastfeeding.
There are a lot of challenges and barriers for breastfeeding among African American women. The first one of them is the media influence. Media has a big influence on everything, and there is a huge contribution to the belief that formula is a normal thing and breastfeeding is somehow wrong or weird. There is a sexualization of breasts, so a lot of women and men end up believing that breasts are there not to feed their baby but only for sexual reasons. There are some environmental challenges, such as workplace or school. A lot of women don't want to pump their milks on those places, so sometimes they don't there is no way of doing that. A lot of them are concerned about breastfeeding in public places. Everybody's watching, and a lot of times the father doesn't like that everybody else is watching his wife breastfeeding their babies and things like that. Social life has a big influence, such as what your friends are gonna say about it, or what your family is gonna tell about it, like even about their own experiences. But the key barrier is lack of information and education. African American women and men, they have less access to education and information than white men and white women, and therefore they end up not understanding how important it is to breastfeed the baby. And there is, for example, the case of an African American woman who was charged for the death. She was charged for starvation death of her 2-month-old son because she did not know that her surgically reduced breasts, they may not have enough milk for the baby, and as they did not have health care plans, and they were refused at hospitals, and the baby died, and the mother was actually charged for the death of her baby. And actually the case of this African American woman, it became, they made a TV show about it, and so it all ties up. It goes back to the media. So the media makes them believe that something could go wrong, and then your baby could die because you're breastfeeding. That it just brings everything again and again and again. So it just becomes a huge.
In the final chapter of our paper, which has to do with the resources for African American women or black women and breastfeeding, we have 4 sources that I discovered in the greater Los Angeles area and other places too. One is Soul Food for Your Baby. The other one is California Black Infant Health Care Program and Great Beginnings for Black Babies. Also, we found a magazine specifically for African American women called Your Guide to Breastfeeding for African American Women. The Soul Food Baby source is a program sent to empower black families to breastfeed, and it's in response to a very low breastfeeding and healthcare disparities among black women. It was created in 2006. It became a public health care foundation enterprise in 2009. Some of the attributes that separates them from other organizations is that they emphasize a cultural connection to breastfeeding and links nursing to the experience, history, and legacy of members of African American diaspora